So yesterday I spent a good chunk of my day just watching everything that's unfolding out in Los Angeles. And when the day was over, I was totally exhausted, and I really hadn't did anything other than sit in a chair and watch what was unfolding. But I was absolutely exhausted. Sometimes this stuff can absolutely take a toll on your mental health, more so than physical labor can. I do believe that I could have went out and worked in the sun all day long and not been near as tired as I was when I got done watching everything. Actually, when I just said to myself, it's time to walk away from this. I got to get away from this. I got to clear my head. When I finally said that, I was absolutely exhausted from it. So I always like to tell people, be sure to take care of your mental health these days. I know that we're in very dark times. Those dark times can get very depressing. And I know people are going through a whole lot of things in their personal lives. So always take care of yourself. I always tell people, YouTubers aren't supposed to say this, but I'll say it to you. Tune out if you need to. When you tune back in, don't try to backtrack and watch 15 of my videos to catch up. Just jump back in where you left off, and we'll keep this train moving, and we'll keep fighting for democracy. But we have to take care of ourselves. We have to be there for our family and be there for our friends. So always be sure to take care of yourself, folks, really. Anyway, yesterday, one of the things that I watched that I really did enjoy was Ben Meiselas had Governor Gavin Newsom on the Midas Touch Network. I was really glad to see Ben interviewing Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin Newsom is meeting this moment the way that he should be, and I applaud him for it. Regardless of how anyone out there feels about Gavin Newsom or feels about California politics, I truly do believe that right now, more than ever, we are all Los Angeles. We are all California, and we have to stand with them. So I'm going to take you now to parts from this interview that Ben did with Gavin Newsom, because I really do believe Newsom is doing a great job at meeting this moment. And he's going to have to, if he's going to fight off this authoritarianism, folks. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before, but I do believe Gavin Newsom is doing a good job. So let's go here to this first clip, and then we're going to talk more about it.
I'm joined by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Governor, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth just wrote, due to increased threats to federal law enforcement officers and federal buildings, approximately 700 active duty U.S. Marines from Camp Pendleton are being deployed to Los Angeles to restore order. We have an obligation to defend federal law enforcement officers, even if Gavin Newsom will not. That was his post. What's your response, Governor?
It's just complete nonsense. It's Orwellian. It's a manufactured crisis. Let me give you a proof point of that. As we all know well, they illegally and unconstitutionally deployed the National Guard over the objection of the governor, over my objection. And we filed a lawsuit on that. There were 2,000 National Guardsmen deployed, but they cannot operationalize the needs for more than 300 of them, meaning 1,700 of them have not been utilized in any meaningful way. Just moments ago, they also called up an additional 2,000 National Guard. So now 4,000, of which only 300 have been operationalized. And Guess what? Yesterday, LAPD had to protect and use their scarce resources to protect those National Guardsmen and women against protests that were incited because of their presence. And I say this as someone who's very proud of our National Guard and care deeply about them. They are being put into harm's way. And Donald Trump has created and manufactured a crisis that I assure you, to your tweet in the reference to excess, is going to be made significantly worse if they impose the Insurrection Act and deploy 700 active Marines and military into a U.S. American city in this manufactured crisis.
I'm glad that Newsom continues to call this a manufactured crisis. Folks, stop and think about for a minute the fact that 4,000 troops have been called, 4,000 guardsmen have been called, only 300 are being used. Anyone can look at that and see that it was completely unnecessary. I don't see how that they can spin this one any other way, but MAGA is absolutely going to go out of their way to try to paint Gavin Newsom as though he's not doing enough. And they're even calling for his arrest, which is absolutely absurd. But I want to play you this next clip because I want to show you what Gavin Newsom shared that's actually happening to these guardsmen. Take a look.
We saw that there were National Guardsmen sleeping on the floor. There was no food, water, or places to sleep for them. Here's what you posted. You sent your troops here without fuel, food, water, or a place to sleep. Here they are being forced to sleep on the floor, piled on top of one another. If anyone is treating our troops disrespectfully, it is you. And is this the group that's just even the 300 that they did operationalize? So they couldn't operationalize the 17? What are we looking at there even?
You're looking at chaos. You're looking at incompetency. You're looking, I think, at the visuals of what this is all about. They are unhinged. They're incapable of operational efficiency. I mean, these are the soldiers. This is the 79th Infantry. I know these guys well. They're under our command. They've been under my command. They're amazing young men and women. These were the folks out there protecting people in the middle of the wildfires here in LA. They were protecting public safety at key checkpoints all throughout the state. These are the folks I've deployed that are now being pulled off the line to do forest management and vegetation management, preparing for wildfire season. These are the folks that are currently being deployed, now are being sent here for this theater of the absurdity, that we're working on fentanyl interdiction and doing task force work, our rattlesnake crews, all of these extraordinary things that no longer can be done, or at least are disrupted because of this show. And that's all this is. We have more than enough resources. The mutual aid system has not even been close to being tapped as it relates to local law enforcement. And I'll remind you, LA County has 88 cities. The vast majority of those cities have their own police departments. The California Highway Patrol, we've surged about 600 officers. And as I just noted, and as you just showed your viewers, you've got 1,700 of these young men and women that are sitting around waiting for something, and another 2,000 have been nationalized. Again, just so Donald Trump can pound his chest and act like he is in control. He is creating chaos. He is sowing chaos.
So if you go over to the dumpster fire that is Twitter and you sit and look at the way that MAGA is trying to spin this, all you're going to see is them sharing pictures of people waving a Mexican flag, standing on a car, and saying that this is an insurrection. But I truly do believe that the one image that more people needs to see, and that all media should be pushing more, is those National Guardsmen laying on the floor being forced to sleep that way because too many of them were called up to do something that they weren't needed to be there for to start with. I think that's an image that should be shown more often. However, you know how it goes in the mainstream media. They usually don't cover the things that so many of us tries to cover and point out. But, Donald Trump himself is now saying that he agrees with his border czar, Tom Homan, that he should lock up Gavin Newsom. And here was Newsom's response to that.
Donald Trump earlier today echoed what his border czar, Tom Homan, said, which is that they want you arrested. Trump was asked why he wants you arrested. He says, because you're the governor and you won election. That's one of the reasons he wants you arrested. So what's your response to that, Governor?
That was that said by Erdogan? Who was that said by? Was that some dictator, some authoritarian in the history books? Or was that said by the President of the United States? I've never thought, honestly, and I don't want to be hyperbolic, act like a victim and all of that. I honestly, literally never thought in my life I'd hear those words uttered from the President of the United States, threatening the arrest, directing the arrest of a political opponent that, quote unquote, won an election and happens to be governor of the largest state in our country. And for what? Not only winning the election, but it's really about having the audacity to call him out on his unconstitutional actions and to call out what this is all about. This is about the erosion of the rule of law. This is about a system of checks and balances, popular sovereignty, co-equal branches of government. We lost a full branch of government. It's gone, and that's Congress. There's no oversight. There's only one other branch outside the executive that may or may not be left, and that's the branch he's threatening with impeachment, and he's threatening as it relates to court actions that he may or may not follow, depending on the rule of Don, and that's the courts. And that's what we've got left. And so we have to stand up. We have to call out what this is really about. We have crossed the red line. We can get in a posse comitatus. We can get into this unlawful action. But this is a national action that is occurring first here in the state of California. The executive order and the mobilization order that came from the DOD impacts every state in the United States of America. Democrats and Republicans should wake up to what is happening currently in this country. And it's happening here first but we are just America's coming attraction. This is a preview of things to come all across the country.
I really do believe that a whole lot of this is going over a lot of people's heads because they're just seeing it. They see it as being California. They don't like blue states. And they say, oh, well, Gavin Newsom's not doing enough and Donald Trump had to step in and do something. They're just repeating whatever their favorite Fox News anchor says. But what they don't realize is this is bigger than California and that this can go further than California. This order affects all of us. And I think it's very important that we pay attention on this next clip.
Oh, yeah. That unlawful order is not specific to California or Los Angeles, right? I mean, it's a 60-day order that says, and it's not limited to just, it mentions, yes, it starts with this National Guard federalization, but it says at the Secretary of Defense's discretion, could be anything for 60 days anywhere. I don't think that's getting enough attention.
People need to understand this is a national order. We're talking about you in your state, in your backyard, depending on the whim of a president who's unhinged, depending on how he's feeling in a particular day, or who's aggrieved him because they didn't like what they said on a Fox News clip. I mean, it's, again, sober and serious moment. Meanwhile, can I just add, and this is why I told the president, just get it over with. Arrest me. Move on. If you need some head to scalp, do it with me, but stop messing with these kids. Stop messing with 4-year-olds, kids in elementary school. We've got kids. We have hundreds of graduations down here. Kids are not going to their own graduations. Families, grandparents here legally, mixed status families in some cases, scared to death to go to a graduation. People are scared to walk down the streets. It's not just Home Depots, getting their car washed. We have incidences. I didn't believe it because what was I thinking? I actually believed when they said this is not true. But then I saw videos. They're doing checkpoints, checking people's IDs. We've never seen this kind of deployment in so many actions. It's mass panic out here in the nation's largest county, in the nation's largest state. Good, hardworking people, decent people. These are not the criminals. These are not the thugs. And so, again, I just hope people really are paying attention. And I know he's trying to misdirect attention away from Elon Musk and this disastrous $2.5 trillion debt that's going to saddle our kids and grandkids for generations, and the abomination that is his tariff policy and his incompetency as it relates to foreign affairs. Do not fall for it. Let's all pay attention to what's really going on.
And that's the thing, folks. We have got to pay attention to everything that's going on. I know that's not easy because there's just so much stuff flying at us from every single direction. It's really hard to keep up with it all. And that's why, I have people helping me out every day to show me stories that, probably went over our heads because there's so much going on. We can do it though. We can stay focused and we can keep moving this conversation forward. But right now, what's going on out in Los Angeles is something that should concern every American, and we should all be standing solidly behind California, regardless of what your politics are, because this could be your doorstep next. And I always say that this has to happen to MAGA and affect them before they will care. There are people that they're caught up in the WWE rhetoric and they're loving it. They're flexing. They're thinking they're owning the libs. They don't understand the long-term effects that this whole thing is going to have. And again, they're not going after violent gang members. They're not going after, people like that. They're going to Home Depots. They're going to places of business or pulling people out that are doing the jobs that most Americans won't do. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, what's going to happen once all that's taken away to the people in my part of the world. Are you going to work these tobacco fields? Are you going to be the ones to do it? Because I know for a fact you wouldn't. I know I tried it and tapped out after the second day. So, none of us wanted to do those things. And now you're just sitting back enjoying this, gleefully watching this and laughing about it and not realizing just how serious the situation truly is. So, I applaud Gavin Newsom for the job that he's doing. He's got his work cut out for him going up against Trump, and I truly do believe that so much of this is politically motivated. We wouldn't see this happen in Texas with Governor Abbott. He wouldn't be threatening to lock him up. I think they view Gavin Newsom as a potential, front runner for our side, and they're trying their best to chop him down. I heard someone, I'm not going to play the clip, but I heard someone ask Trump about what he thought about Newsom, and they basically said, if you lock him up, would that help his political career? And he said, "Oh no, I think it would hurt him. I think it would, it would hurt his chances." That's the kind of conversation Donald Trump is having, and he's absolutely loving it. And the reason why that he sits back and says, "Yeah, go ahead and arrest Newsom," is because he was being held accountable for the crimes he committed, and he managed to dodge that and get away from it, and now he's back in charge, and he just wants to unleash revenge and retribution on anyone out there that disagrees with him. And so that's what we're up against. But we will continue to put in the work. We'll continue to pay attention to all this stuff happening, but we have to keep our eyes on California right now, because it's California today. It could easily be us tomorrow.